about me, when it comes to like the word influencer, I'm a little like, I get invited to like little influencer events here in Philly, and I don't know, something about that word just doesn't sit right with me. But when I say that someone that deserves all the recognition, someone that deserves all of her blessings, someone that deserves every single thing that comes her way, it's really Cass, my girl Cass in the city. Because one thing about her, she's real, she's honest, she's authentic, she shows up as herself 100%. I know, I've kind of just been like an outsider looking in. We've only recently become like a little bit closer, but just seeing your journey, seeing the evolution of you, and just like how you're so vulnerable in your journey has been one of my favorite things to witness. So thank you for being a part of the JEFATONA podcast and sharing your story, getting people to know you on an intimate level too.
Thank you for having me. Like, hearing you even say that just makes me like almost want to cry right now, because I agree though about the word influencer. It's kind of a little cringy. That's why I like to think like more like impactor.
Yes, you're an impactor
versus
for sure.
like influencer. But hey, whatever. I'm just glad it brought us together.
No, absolutely. So one thing about Cass that I love about her, so if you guys don't follow her, you need to make sure you do, because she will literally make you fall in love with Philly, with the tri-state area in general, in a way that, you probably have not been able to do so before. Like, Philly John, born and raised, I'm proud to be from the city, but there's a lot of, one thing I love about you, she's very intentional about choosing small businesses. She's very intentional about making sure that she's highlighting places that aren't really, of the elite status or really of like the IG famous or whatever. Like, she really shows love to these small businesses. I know people may hear about the Keith Lee effect, but y'all really need to pay attention to Cass in the City effect. So how did you get into just, everything you do right now with highlighting the city?
Yeah, so the pandemic hit and my job hours started getting cut. Everybody started spending more times on their phone, social media. That's when I downloaded TikTok, and I realized, there's a little bit more than just, kids dancing on this app.
Yeah.
There's other things out there, and people were showing a lot of things to do in New York City. And I was like, that's great and all, but like, what is there to do like in Philly? Why is this not being talked about? Because there's so much to do in Philly. And I think it's often, overlooked, because it's easy to get stuck in your routine of just going to the same place for dinner, same place for lunch, and you don't break out of your routine. And there really is so much here and that Philly has to offer. So I wanted to just show people my favorite places that I like to go. And that's kind of how it started. So I started showing my quote unquote favorite places around Philadelphia. And then it just kind of blew up from there. My first, post about it went viral. And then I just kept doing it over and over again. And it started to resonate with more and more people. My audience grew, not just on TikTok, but Instagram too. I also use Facebook. And I really realized that there was a love for this. And, it's easy to hate on the city. The news is very much negative about the city. If you don't live in Philly, it's very easy to just be like, who wants to go to Philly? But
sure.
I love living in Philly. I love living in Philly, and I want to make people love living in Philly, because you should love where you live.
Absolutely.
It might not be, the gorgeous beach, in Florida, but we have a lot to offer here.
We do. I have a folder on my Instagram to save like things to do in Philly, and 80% of that folder is like her ball. I should just rename it to Cass in the City.
I just will keep people busy.
Yeah. So not just food posts again. So I love how you're intentional about just overall experiences. So we know you're a foodie. Anyone that follows and knows you're a foodie through and through. But also like, experiences. And this is not just like things to do, but also like stuff that's like, small business owned. Like you do like running club, like you showcase like, there's this great initiative. There's this running club. There's these group of women that's doing this. Like she's very, intentional about highlighting. And especially with me, like, Black and brown business owners too.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important and vital that you do. And again, like one of my favorite things is to always see, and I'm pretty sure not just me, I know the same thing with you, when you post a small business and then just to see like their IG blow up or see like
the impact that it has on them. Like it's rewarding in itself to see the impact that my post can really make. I've literally had businesses tell me that they were on the verge of closing and then they made enough sales after my post to stay open. Like, I'm sorry, how can you not feel good about that?
Absolutely. Do you understand the power of your impact though? Like, I really need you to take that in.
I do think I do now. At first, like I was just doing everything and kind of just going with the flow. But as things keep transforming into what is happening now, I totally realize that, wow, my single post can really make or break, a business. But I'm not about spreading the negative energy on anybody. So if I have a bad experience, don't worry. I typically will never advertise that. I just want to highlight the good and businesses that deserve it, and just recommend it to anybody else that might need to see it.
No, absolutely. And again, just want to reiterate, one of my favorite things is your ability to be self-aware about certain things, because obviously, we live in a time where there's a lot of things that's happen on a political level. There's a lot of things that's happen, negatively and everything. And one thing I love about you, because it's something you don't see from a lot of influencers as well, that you'll jump on your IG and be like, I don't really know much about this topic, but I'm gonna learn. Or tell me what are the resources I can how can I learn? How can I do this? And you'll give your feedback and be like, okay, this is my take on this. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but this is based off of what I read. So that's something that I love that you do with your platform, because it's so easy to be like someone that's just very, I don't want to get involved, or I don't want to do this,
people
or
do not want to get involved.
Because especially when your income is based off of brand deals and everything.
They're scared they'll lose followers. They're scared that brands won't work with them, and I understand that. If you're on that side of the game, I understand it.
For sure.
But at the same time, I think it's important to be myself. And
absolutely,
you can't not talk about things that are happening, whether it is political, and it could possibly hurt your platform. But at the end of the day, is it though? Because you want to be yourself, and you should want your audience to respect you and understand you through and through. And I think when having a large platform like we have, you have to talk about things that are uncomfortable to talk about. Even if you aren't educated in it, then take time to educate yourself, or ask your audience, hey, can you share resources with me?
And then you always, and what I love that she does, she will share those resources lists too. And I'm just like, go ahead, girl. This is how you use your platform.
So I'll make sure that you're spending your money around Philly, but I'll also make sure I'm staying up to date with what's happening. And if I don't know, I'm going to ask.
For sure. What do you think is one of the most, what's the most challenging thing you have to experience being a full-time influencer? We're a full-time impactor.
But I mean, I guess it's still navigating the local scene. You have to play your cards right in the city, I think, to be respected in a certain way, get invited certain places, get certain brand deals. You kind of have to tiptoe around a lot, not say too much. So that's where, when I'm very authentic and vulnerable on my platform, it gets me in a lot of trouble. I burn a lot of bridges, but at the end of the day, I personally don't mind. But if you are in the creator space and maybe that's something that you don't want, it can be tricky. It can sometimes feel like you're being left out of certain things if you don't get invites places, get the same campaigns as other people, get recognized as much as other people, but you just got to keep pushing through those, obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically speaking, anyone can put together a cute reel and say, come to this location, but it's really, one thing about you is not really a lot of people can connect with an audience. Something that's really important for me is I love building community. I'm very, I'll be crying, I'll be laughing.
I love that. And I love taking that type of content in. I love experiencing that from other people. And that's why I don't mind doing it too. And I see people like yourself that even inspire me, even your workout journey. Every day when I see that you worked out, I'm like, all right, Delilah's moving her body. I need to be moving my body. So I love seeing all parts of it, and I wish that more influencers would start to show more parts. But that's okay. That's why I'm in it for myself.
No, for sure. I mean, everyone does whatever feels right for them. But I know, at least me personally, that something that connected me to you, and then I was just I want to be her friend because you're real, you're raw, you're authentic, and you're vulnerable too. There's things that you go through at times. I know you won't openly share all the time, but you'll hand hey, I'm not having a good day right now. I just went through this. I'm going to check out for 2-3 days. I'll see you in 2 to 3 days.
Mental health is so...
I respect that 100%.
Yes. Mental health is so real, and I feel like we have to talk about it because if you don't, it's easy for people to just think like, oh, she's busy. But like, let's be real. I am going through it right now and I need to take some time off. And I know that it's relatable to other people. And maybe somebody else needs to hear that, like, oh, they've been going through it. And maybe it's also okay for them to maybe take a step back too.
Yeah, for sure. Because especially in a day and age with social media when you feel like you have to show up.
Oh my gosh. Every day, because if you don't, that algorithm's going to come and hate you the next.
I know. Meta on your algorithm. Ugh. Anyway, but no, I want to make sure I give you your flowers because it's just, there's not a lot of people, and especially like in the, in that space that I just feel like I don't really connect with. And I mean, I've always felt kind of excluded in a sense, even though I've done so much.
But if you can even just go to an influencer event and you look around to your left and your right to see if there's other people that look like you, and it's very rare.
Yeah.
It's, influencing is a white woman dominated industry, and, pop off, do your thing, girls. But it does make it a little bit harder for women of color and people of color to be given their flowers. So I appreciate it.
Of course. If I had actual flowers.
I'll take the water.
You take the water. This was just a little sneak peek from the actual longer episode. Make sure you tune into wherever you listen to your podcast at, whether it's Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Baby, you're going to be in for a treat.